Hey folks, what's going on? This is Stormland. Thanks for joining me on another one of Chris's beer reviews. Today I'm going to be drinking a beer that I've been looking very forward to reviewing for quite some time now, being a big hoppy IPA fan that I am. Now, a buddy of mine who works at the LCBO, he has a friend who's been trying to come up with this beer for years now, and you know what? I've had it once before I've had this review, and I can tell you that it's paid off, alright? Check it out. We got Double Trouble Brewing, stamped right here. Okay, we got Hops and Robbers, which is probably one of the most clever names I've ever read for a hoppy beer. It's 473 milliliters at 5.7% ABV, which is pretty nice because people who drink their IPAs really do like to have their IPAs above at least 5.5%. This is an extra delicious IPA according to the Double Trouble Brewing Company. You can find these people at Guelph, Ontario, Canada. On the side here, it says, "Cheers, Claude and Nathan. You're holding Canada's most sensational IPA. Hops and Robbers is truly unique and refreshing, the result of craft brewing at its finest. It is a golden IPA with an exceptionally rich and complex character. Fruity aromas of lemon with hints of pineapple combined smoothly with roasty caramel and malt flavors. Made with pride and panache. Double Trouble Brewing flagship brand Hops and Robbers is refreshingly delicious." You can check out this new brewery at doubletroublebrewing.com. Alright, so before I run, I'm going to have to review this for you. So I'm just going to be reviewing it out of your typical Pilsner glass. Blank label here. Let's see what we got here. Alright, so judging by the color, we have a very, very East Coast IPA. If you're wondering what the difference is, a West Coast IPA generally tends to be a lot darker, and an East Coast IPA tends to be lighter. A West Coast IPA also has more of a hoppy taste with the beer, as a West Coast IPA tends to be a little bit more on the blander side. So I'm really, really interested to see how this is going to taste, whether it's going to be bland or whether it's going to be on the hoppier side. That's the part I forgot. So here goes. Smells more like an East Coast IPA. I'm not really picking up on those ridiculous hops there. Very, very little head. Can't expect too much coming from a can here. Not even a quarter finger head there. And let's go. Alright, so my suspicions are correct. This is much more like an East Coast IPA, except it really does have a lot of flavor to it. You get mid-palate range right off the flop, first initial taste, because you actually get some of that hoppiness that you get from the West Coast IPA, except it's not one of those incredibly bitter aftertastes that you get from the West Coast IPA. This East Coast IPA starts off with a very, very nice IPA taste on the tongue. As soon as you take that gulp and you release the oxygen into your mouth, you immediately start to notice the caramelization effects, and much, much more importantly, this beer in particular, incredibly nutty. It wasn't mentioned on the can, but I can tell you right now, I've spoken with other people about this. There is a nutty taste to this beer that one must be reckoned with. It is certainly an amazing taste. You know, you don't really feel like you're getting a high alcohol content beer because it really is not. But you know, it doesn't really, when you look at the alcohol percentage by volume in every single beer, what it states versus what it tastes like is always going to be a little bit different from one another. So I was just, you know, kind of hoping maybe it would have a little bit more of a boozier taste to it. But you got to realize that in West Coast IPAs, which this is not, when you got that extremely boozy taste, it's usually because West Coast IPAs do have higher alcohol content, and the alcoholic taste mixed with that incredibly bitter, hoppy aftertaste really does complement each other, and it goes together very, very well. So this is an exceptional East Coast IPA. If I was one of those people who were going to say, hey, I want to try an IPA for the first time, I would recommend East Coast IPA route, because you're not really getting too much of that really, really hoppy bitterness in the taste. You're actually really enjoying the nuttiness of this, and you're really enjoying the caramelization of this, which is certainly on a lesser note than the nuttiness that you're getting from this beer. So here you go, people. Gateway beer $2.75 for a 473 milliliter can. It doesn't get better than that. Jeez, look at 5 minutes. I just reviewed this whole beer. I think we did it quite well this time, people. No edits, all straight through. And one thing I'm going to say right before I close this camera is I've had this before. This is generally the taste range that you're getting. This little bit down here tastes just a little bit nuttier and a little bit more bitter. That is the main difference. So what am I going to be rating this wonderfully fine East Coast IPA? Probably one of the best East Coast IPA reviews that I've given. I can't remember what my other reviews have been, but I can at least say for an East Coast IPA, I'm going to give this an 8.5 out of 10. It really is exceptional. I've never given a 10 out of anything before. It really does hit the nail on the head. You get all around flavors, very, very well balanced. Kudos to you, Double Trouble. I had to think about it for a second there. You guys are new. Anyways, people, thanks for joining me on another one of Chris's beer reviews. Welcome to Toronto. Don't drink and drive. Drink responsibly. Cheers, people.